Meanwhile, the median time to get approval to build a house there is 627 days. That's 217 days longer than it took to build the Empire State Building.
Let me ask you a quick question. How does it take 627 days just to get permission to build a house in a state that keeps saying it has a housing emergency? That's not building time. That's not rain delays. That's only approval. To compare, the Empire State Building, one of the most famous buildings ever, was finished in 410 days, and that was in the 1930s. No modern equipment, no advanced tech, not even a cafe on every block. If that doesn't sound crazy, nothing will. This is why Bill Maher has finally lost patience. He's saying what millions of Californians have been shouting for years. And no, Maher isn't some right-wing loudmouth. He's not Fox News with a microphone. He's been a steady liberal voice for decades, which makes it hit harder when he says, this has gone way too far.
Regulations that aren't necessary. I mean, you really don't believe that the state we live in, California, is lacking regulation. There's over 300,000 regulations. I mean,
Well, maybe they're needed.
They're not. When I tried to put in a garage door, I had to have 3 inspections. There should have been none. I should be allowed to change my garage door.
Are you kidding? Really? It was about a garage door?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Maher starts with an example that's almost too simple. A garage door. He wanted to replace his garage door. That's it. Not a high rise, not oil drilling, just a door. And what happened? 3 inspections. 3. No major safety breakthrough, no environmental miracle, just forms, waiting, and costs. If you live in California, this doesn't surprise you at all. That's what outsiders don't fully get. California isn't just heavily regulated, it's suffocating. There are more than 300,000 rules on the books. That's not leadership, that's gridlock. Housing projects drag on forever, infrastructure gets announced, funded, announced again, refunded, and then quietly abandoned. High-speed rail is still a joke, and when fires hit, nobody is escaping on a bullet train that was never built.
California is the place that spends money and gets nothing, which is why you may have noticed when the fires broke out, no one escaped by high-speed rail. We have the highest marginal tax rate in America, higher than almost all other states, and soon Greenland.
3. California has mastered one skill, spending huge amounts of money and getting nothing back. Maher says it plainly. This is a state that taxes like a Nordic country, but delivers services like a broken DMV. It has the highest top tax rate in the nation, higher than almost everywhere else, and somehow aiming even higher. So what do residents receive? Falling apart roads, rolling power outages, and housing prices so wild that a small shed with plumbing counts as a first home. But Maher's bigger argument goes beyond bad policy. This is what happens under one-party control. No rivalry, no pressure, no urgency. This isn't left versus right, it's responsibility versus comfort. Look at swing states like Pennsylvania, Arizona, or Georgia. Leaders there know mistakes cost elections. In California, political careers are almost guaranteed. When leaders know they can't lose, they stop trying to earn votes. They govern for activists, donors, and agencies instead. Competition drives effort. Monopolies create laziness. California politics has become exactly that.
You know this about California.
No, I don't.
Well,
I'm sorry, I don't.
You've never heard that California is overtaxed and overregulated? That we are a one-party state where there's sort of no checks on that sort of extreme leftism. And that, what do you think?
I don't for a minute consider California a state that is extreme leftist. Not at all, not any way.
Well, that shows where your politics are. That's not where mine are. I'm sorry to tell
That's why housing prices explode and nothing improves. That's why infrastructure falls apart while committees argue for years. That's why regulations never shrink because no one's job depends on fixing them. Then comes the most uncomfortable moment, when Maher gets pushback, when people seriously claim California isn't overtaxed, overregulated, or ideologically extreme. The disconnect is impossible to ignore. Enter Jane's Fonda. She's lived an impressive life, sure, but also a very sheltered one. Rising utility bills don't affect her. Housing costs don't matter. Permits, fees, and taxes fade into the background when you're worth tens of millions. For people like her, regulation is a moral concept. For everyone else, it's rent, gas, electricity, and whether you can open a business or keep a job.
I don't really like them that much. They just think the far left has gone so nutty on so many issues.
That's what they're being told
That's what
by people like you.
because it's true.
This is where Maher really lands the point. He explains why people voted for Donald Trump, not because Trump was flawless, not because they loved his tweets, but because he recognized their anger. While elites preached from behind gates, everyday Americans were crushed by costs created by people who never paid the price. That frustration didn't appear overnight. It was built slowly, bureaucratically, one permit at a time. Then Maher shifts to water, and things get almost ridiculous. California has faced near constant drought for 20 years. Everyone knows it. People are told to shower less, kill their lawns, and reuse towels like they're camping. Meanwhile, almond farming has doubled. Here's the math that breaks your brain. Fruits and vegetables use about 11 gallons of water per pound. Almonds use 9,900 gallons per pound. One crop uses more water than all homes and businesses in Los Angeles and San Francisco combined. That's why housing prices explode and nothing improves. That's why infrastructure falls apart while
We have spent the last 2 decades in perpetual drought here, yet almond farmers in California have doubled in that time. Despite the fact that almond production alone uses more water than all the humans and businesses in San Francisco and Los Angeles combined, even on days when your teenage son spends 2 hours showering. How much water it takes to grow different crops, oranges, tomatoes, strawberries, all take about 11 gallons to make 1 pound. Almonds, 1,900 gallons. That wasn't a problem back when it rained, but now there simply isn't enough water to go around, and we have to make a painful choice, getting it to the people or getting it in the...
So what happens instead? We subsidize the problem. Agriculture uses about 80% of California's water while making up less than 2% of the economy. This isn't struggling family farms. This is massive agribusiness. Giant corporate farms getting cheap water under rules written like it's still the 1800s. Maher's argument is brutally clear. Water is scarce, and scarce resources should cost more. Instead, taxpayers fund massive usage while cities limit showers and small towns watch wells dry up. That's not environmental protection, that's failure. And who gains? The usual players. Corporations with lobbyists, agencies that never downsize, and regulators who create new messes to justify their jobs.
California agriculture accounts for 80% of our water use, even though California agriculture is less than 2% of our economy. We actually have enough water. We just give way too much of it to farmers who get their water subsidized by the government because we still act like it's 1890 and farmers are small and independent when they're really mostly part of big ag. And corporations get what they want in a...
Which leads to one of the harshest lines in the discussion, the idea that California's bureaucracy exists to make sure nothing ever gets done and then bill you for it. Permit officers, inspectors, zoning boards, review committees, special commissions, consultants, whole layers of government all serving one quiet goal: slow things down, delay, add costs, create friction. How can I block you? Might as well be the official greeting. Productivity isn't supported, it's treated with doubt. Progress isn't welcomed, it's buried under paperwork and waiting periods.
Vast network of regulators, administrators, inspectors, contract reviewers, project managers, fee assessors. special commissioners, zoning officers, and consultants whose jobs seem to be to make sure nothing ever happens and then charge you for it. The people who answer the phone, permit office, how may I hinder you?
Then people act surprised when residents leave. This isn't theory anymore. Companies are moving out. Energy firms are relocating. Tech workers are cashing in and heading to Texas, Florida, Tennessee, anywhere that doesn't treat efficiency like a crime. And it's not only businesses. It's families, retirees, young workers who see they're working harder every year for less in return. Maher calls it exactly what it is, economic self-harm. When a state punishes success and speed, people don't march, they move. Step back and look at cities' leadership, and results and approval ratings say it all. Rahm Emanuel steps in with a blunt reality check. Big city mayors aren't failing because problems are impossible, they're failing because priorities are upside down.
I read that the current mayor of Chicago has an approval rating of 6.6%.
Round it up, stop.
I mean, you were just the ambassador to Japan. If that was your approval rating in Japan, they would do harakiri on live TV.
They would do it at 27.
I mean, what's going on in Chicago?
Look, I mean, we were talking about this a little earlier. I mean, you have also the mayor of New York not doing well. Obviously, other things also here in Los Angeles not doing well, the mayor here. Look, and then you got mayors like the mayor of San Francisco and other cities that are doing well. So I would say, look, there is a general rule. I had this when I was mayor. Safe streets, strong schools, stable finances. Focus on those three things and your city's going to be fine.
Safe streets, strong schools, stable budgets. That's the job. Not culture fights, not symbolism, not endless arguments about words while crime rises and stores lock up basic items. When pharmacies look like bank vaults, something is deeply wrong. Then there are the schools, possibly the worst failure of all. The lowest 8th grade reading scores in 30 years. 30 years! And what are leaders focused on? Bathrooms, pronouns, locker rooms. Emanuel's anger is clear. Parents send kids to school to learn, not to be part of social experiments. They want reading, writing, and thinking. When classrooms turn into political battlefields, learning suffers. While leaders focus on image, results fall apart. No amount of moral posturing fixes that.
Went through 5 years where people became way too permissive of culture. They were all, which is why everything's locked up at Walgreens and CVS. And that is a disaster. Yeah. And our school, and I'll say this about our schools. I don't want to hear another word about the locker room. I don't want to hear another word about the bathroom. You better start focusing on the classroom. We have the worst reading scores for 8th graders in 30 years. And nobody, not a governor, not a mayor, not a president, not a secretary of education is talking about it. We're all wrapped up. Look, in 7th grade, if I known that I could have said the word they and got in the girls' bathroom, I would have done it.
By the end, the picture is obvious. California isn't failing because it lacks compassion. It's failing because it lacks limits, competition, and leaders willing to say no to bad ideas, powerful interests, and swollen bureaucracies. Maher isn't asking for a revolution. He's asking for common sense, responsibility, practicality, and basics like building homes faster, pricing water honestly, and focusing on safety in schools. Stop pretending regulation is good because it exists. California used to be where people went for opportunity. Now it's where they run from, and that should worry everyone. By the end, the picture is obvious. California isn't failing because it lacks compassion.